Hello, hello. If you can hear me, leave a comment saying I can hear you. Welcome, welcome. All right, that's what I like to hear. Let's begin. It's production time. I'm Reid, Stefan, realist puppet in the game, back with another live stream on a beautiful afternoon, watching the sunset together and answering some questions about production. Please excuse any background noise from the construction at my neighbor's house. I figured it was so beautiful out anyways, we would just film through the hammers and sawing and all that noise, so please excuse the hammering. It's my neighbor. That being said, let's jump into some questions. How do you build connections in the music industry? That's a great question, because the answer can be different every time. That's like saying, how do you meet friends in high school? Or, how do you meet your girlfriend when you grow up? The answer could come from so many different ways that there really isn't an answer. But a great place to start, if you have no music industry connections, is Instagram. Now, that seems a little challenging because you'd be like, am I supposed to just DM some person? How is my DM going to get answered if lots of people are DMing them? And here's where you need to get creative. When you DM them, offer them something helpful. Offer them something that they could post. Offer them something that they could use. Don't ask them for something. Don't expect them to provide you with anything. So that's a great way to build some connections. I know I got my start doing remixes. Even if people didn't ask me to do a remix, I'd do one just because I thought I could make a good one, and then I'd send it to them. And boom, we're friends now. We work together. We made original music together. So that's just an example, but like I said, there's no specific answer to that question. How do you determine attack and release times on your compressor for mixing vocals? I usually do whatever the most medium setting is on the attack, and almost the fastest release setting on the release. That's usually how I pick it. Whatever the mediumest is, attack, and almost the fastest, not quite the fastest, on the release. I feel like I'm about to sneeze, excuse me. All right, sorry. Anyways. Is it important to have pre-master in EDM production? By pre-master, do you mean like 2 master chains, or do you mean like a chain for your, analyzers, and then a chain for your master chain? I would say no. It's not necessary to do anything in any style. Next question. What about for strings? Let's see, if you're asking about what instrument I like to use for strings, definitely Contact. Or my Roland Phantom G6. It's one of the old school ones. Where's the best place to get good mastering? Studio DMI in Las Vegas. Actually, you're about to see my Las Vegas vlog. I visit Studio DMI, which is not just the best mastering and mixing place in Vegas, but probably one of the best places that exists, period. And that's the short answer to your question, Studio DMI. But I actually haven't even introduced what's about to premiere. This is something really, really unique. I took a road trip to Vegas with Kara. We ran into Kashmir. We ran into Luca Predalesi. Actually, I'm not even going to spoil it. I'll just let you guys see what happens in 25 minutes. And if you're watching this live stream in the future, I'll put a link to the vlog that I'm talking about in the description. But back to the questions. Do you think that dubstep is dead? No, it's just forever changing. So maybe the one sound of dubstep that you liked is dead, but a new one emerged from it, and it's still dubstep. What's on your mix bus to add extra warmth? Probably the Isotope Exciter. How do we start to learn mixing? You just practice. You can practice on your own music, offer to mix someone's song for free, practice on their music. It's really the only thing you can do. How to make all songs the same level. This would be what mastering is for. So, master them at the same time. Put them in your sessions so you can reference other ones while you do your mastering. Rode NTK or Neumann TLM 103. Rode, all day. I honestly cannot stand Neumann TLM microphones at all. I do not like TLM 102. I do not like TLM 103. And I do not like TLM 49. A lot of people have them, and I understand why, because I too got tricked by the red Neumann logo. But, man, when I made those recordings and played them back, it was real piercing on the high end. S's damn near burst my eardrums, they were so sharp. So, I don't recommend any Neumann microphones. I'm sure the really old ones were classic and were famous for a reason, but I don't think Neumann would be famous if they didn't have those classic old ones. If it was just up to their new mics to make them famous, I don't think Neumann would be famous at all. Let's see. Have you ever considered making mid-tempo music like house or techno? I'm usually working on vocals over a variety of tempos, so I don't really think about what tempo I want to make. I'm usually reacting to a tempo that's already there, or a track. What do you recommend getting a mic shield when I record? It sounds thin. Well, that's not something a mic shield is going to help you with. In fact, a mic shield is not going to help you with anything at all. What will help you is getting closer to your mic, using the proximity effect of your microphone to add some more low end to your recordings. What I would also recommend is treating your room. Putting a little shield around the back of your mic honestly doesn't do anything, in my experience. Nothing good, at least. How to start giving value to others as a music producer? Well, find someone who does not have the skills you have, and boom, there's the value. Apply your skills to their music. It'll make their music more valuable. Boom. You've applied your value. Do you still make trap music? I make all kinds of music. And I make vocals over all kinds of music too. So I don't really think in style of what do I make and what don't I make. I just make. Do puppets make a good acoustic treatment? Not quite big enough, no. And also, hanging a puppet up on the wall is just cruel and unusual. Favorite clippers, distortions for fat hip-hop kicks. Sausage fattener. Boom, that's a great one. Standard clip. Boom, there's another one. Black box. Boom. How many more do you want? Can I record good vocals using a Neumann? Yeah, I mean, you could record good vocals using anything. You can record good vocals using a phone. You can record good vocals using a built-in mic on your laptop. You can record good vocals with expensive gear. So that would include Neumann. What I was saying before about Neumann was just my opinion on their new line of products. Not saying that you can't make a good recording with it. I just find it challenging to make a good recording with it. And considering you're spending thousands of dollars on a Neumann, that's the opposite of what you want. You want it to be easier to make a good mix of your vocal. And Neumanns don't make it easier for me, they make it harder. If I didn't waste all that money on a Neumann mic, I wouldn't be mad at them, but I feel like I got tricked. Same thing with the Razer computer. They tricked me. Limiter on the mastering bus, good or not? Yes. Obviously, many places will punish you for going above the clipping level, so, or maybe you're asking limiter versus clipper. Sometimes I use both. Actually, a lot of the times I use both. If you open up the preset Ozone Master Sauce, you'll see that there is a limiter and a clipper going on in there. Favorite reverb plugin. I feel like I go over this every live stream. That's all right, because it's easy for me to remember. I got the Slate Verb Suite Classics as my favorite bright reverb. EMT 250 is my favorite plate reverb. And Valhalla Room is my favorite, like outer space reverb. Unnatural sounding reverb. How to use L-Ray on vocals? Very subtly. I don't use any one compressor to do all my compression. I prefer to just series a couple different compressors that I like doing a little bit, and L-Ray is one of them. Is leaving headroom before mastering a myth coming from analog times? No. A lot of plugins will perform worse with too much level being pumped into them. So, still useful stuff. But that doesn't mean that you need to know it to make a song. You can clip stuff and still make a good song that excites people, if that's the kind of music that you're going for. SoundCloud still good? ? Not for as a social media platform. Maybe as like a file storage bin or a private link service. But I wouldn't say it's good for getting discovered in 2020. Unless you're pumping out like bootleg remixes or something that you can't post on Spotify. Maybe SoundCloud's still good for that. Best drum replacement plugin. I don't use a plugin for that. I just zoom in, and if I'm replacing it with a new sample, I'll just zoom in and make sure that I dropped it in exactly the same spot instead of using a plugin. Best mic under $100. The one built into your iPhone. But actually, iPhones are pretty expensive, so I'm going to take that off the list. But honestly, it sounds better than the answer that I'm about to give you, which is if you want a condenser microphone, MXL 990. Really clean condenser microphone, but if you're a beginner, you might have an easier time making a vocal with your iPhone. How to get good loudness in a mix. Using distortion plugins, because distortion plugins sound loud. What a beautiful sunset. I'm glad I got to share this with you guys. Favorite clipper is Standard Clip by far, which is great because it's also really affordable, like $30 or something. Ozone Stereo Imager good for mastering with stereo eyes on. Honestly, no, I don't use it extreme amounts, especially on the mix bus. I would use it 0.1%, 0.2%. Anything under 1 is really does a lot to your mix, so the tiniest bit is usually what I go for, if anything at all. Ooh, we got 10 minutes until the Vegas vlog premieres. Just bought Standard Clip. Thanks for the recommendation. Hey, you're not going to be disappointed. Especially when you put that thing on your drums group. Put oversampling on 16x. Sounds great. When I put it on my master, I don't use the oversampling. I just leave it on 1. Are you going to try Luna by UAD? Absolutely. I just haven't tried it yet. Is it better to oversaturate the media with exposure or favor one platform and pay some money? Well, you want to be on all platforms, but there's definitely going to be one that you have a strength on for whatever reason that might be. If you're really good looking, you'll probably do better on Instagram. If you're really funny or really creative, you might do better on TikTok. If you can tell a story and make a long video, you might do better on YouTube. But you want to be on all of them. How do you use parallel compression on vocals? You send your lead vocal to an aux. Usually your lead vocal's mono, so the aux would be mono too. And then you throw the 1176 and hit the all button. And then crank that input gain. And that's going to make your aux have a really loud signal coming out of it, so I turn the aux down like -15. And that's parallel compression. Let's see, what is your loof's target? If it's going to Spotify, obviously -14. But if it's going to an A&R or if it's a draft of a mix, I don't really worry about the loops. So I would go as loud as I can. Especially when I'm making music that's for television or film sync, pitching a song for some video editor to use for something that's going on TV or in a film, I go full volume for that. How much CPU do you need for a serious home studio with analog hardware included? Well, analog hardware does not use CPUs, so that has nothing to do with it. But you would want 4 cores at least. You'd be really having a hard time with a 2-core or 1-core computer. And 16 gigabytes of RAM at least, and a 1 terabyte SSD at least. 2-point anything processor, quad core is good enough. Do you use dither on your mixes? I use it on my master. I swear I can hear something come in the high end or the clarity, or when it gets transcoded, or what's it called? I don't know, when you lower the wave to an MP3, I forget the technical word. Dither will help it sound ever so slightly brighter and more clear. How do you get rid of white noise while recording vocals? It's probably your laptop in your room. You got to put your mic in a different room from your laptop. And if it's not your laptop noise, that means you got noise in your signal. Crappy cable, crappy interface, could be one of those 2 problems, or crappy mic. Best interface for live recording, my Apollo X4 or X8. How do you handle ear fatigue? I do not subject myself to fatiguing situations. Like, for example, if I'm in the club, got my earplugs in. If I'm in the studio, I don't play the music that loud. If I'm in someone else's studio and they're blasting the music, I just stand as far from the speakers as possible, because I don't have control over it, and I'm not going to be rude and be like, bro, turn that down. So that's about it. Just avoid fatiguing situations, because once your ears have been damaged, not much you can do to undamage it. Actually, there's nothing you can do. So just avoid the damage at all costs. Best online mastering service. I've never used an online mastering service, so I'm sure they have free demos. Just try the free demos. That's what I would do. What's the best interface for vocals? In Apollo. I'm sure you could spend many more thousands of dollars on something that's better, but for getting the job done and being easy and loaded with features, Apollo. When you mix your songs, do you mix at a low volume? Yes, every time. And then when I want to hear it bumping, I turn it up and I stand outside the door of the room and just listen to it from just outside the door. I really love turning up my speakers and hearing that power, but not right in my face. I'll go stand outside the room and listen to the speakers blasting. What's your master chain? UAD master sauce, most of the time. Sometimes I throw standard clip in there. How do you get a promoter to call you back for another DJ gig? You have to really impress them during your first one, I guess. Impress them more so than anybody else has in a while. And then how do you do that? Well, that's up to you and what audience you're DJing to. How do you do gain staging? Well, I put everything in groups. So my finished track usually gets narrowed down to 4 groups. Vocals, drums, bass, and all music, which is pretty much all synths or guitars or whatever the singer's singing over. So that's 4 groups. Take all my 4 groups, turn them down -10. The channels within the groups are also turned down below 0 as well. Different amounts. That's how I mix them, is by controlling the volumes of each channel. But the groups, all -10. Boom. Gain staging done. Would you say you're a DJ or a live act? I'm the realest puppet in the game. Not much else to it. What is your absolute favorite plugin? I guess if I had to pick one, CLA Vocals. Does a lot. or Black Box by Plug-in Alliance. Which Apollo? I love Apollo X4 and Apollo X8. Apollo X2 is great as well. Any of the Apollo X series is real nice. Top 5 favorite features inside of Ableton. This is easy. Number 1, audio effect racks. It's the greatest shortcut to have ever invented inside of any DAW for sequencing a chain of plugins and saving your chain of plugins and doing crazy parallel stuff, creating auxes within the channel. Audio effect racks really make Ableton a simple tool above all other DAWs for mixing. Number 2, OTT. That's basically the tool you need to make anything sound like EDM. Number 3, the Echo tool. It's a delay plugin, built-in ducking controls, lots of sauce that you can put on your echoes right there within the plugin. Number 4, the sample browser and how it integrates into the sampler. How everything integrates into the sampler, really. Number 5, favorite thing about Ableton? I gotta pick a good one. I guess the channel EQ. That thing sounds hot. And it's super easy to use. Gibson or Fender? Probably Fender. Gibson's gone now. Generally, how much gain reduction should I expect if I want -3 or -4 RMS masters? That's not really going to be about your final gain reduction. It's going to be about how you place the sounds in your mix and utilize distortion and things like that leading up to your final 2-bus. Favorite preamp? A Neve, or there's some good Neve knockoffs too. I use Vintech. BAE makes a really good Neve knockoff. If your budget is only about $1,500 for a preamp, it's a great way to get a Neve sounding thing, but can't beat the Neve. Where can I find vocalists not too expensive? On Splice. What kind of music do you like to make personally? I don't like to make any one kind of music. Honestly, I probably wouldn't. If I had to pick one and just make that one, I would get tired of it. So, can't answer that with any one genre. Could you take Kermit in a UFC fight? Maybe. I don't know. That's actually a good question. I don't know if he's ever trained before. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for about 5 months. So, I don't know. That'd be a pretty good amateur UFC match. Catch him in a triangle. Performing with push or high force? I like Ableton push. How'd you learn to mix and master? Trial and error from years and years and years of trial and error. How many dB of headroom do you leave in the master bus? I don't really count the dBs, but I make sure it's nowhere close to clipping, and then you're good. Maybe 2, 3. Can you automate which MIDI track in armed Ableton? I think so. Zoom or PreSonus mixer? I don't really know either of those mixers. Pro Tools or Ableton? Pro Tools for recording, Ableton for producing. What RMS and LUFS level is good for streaming and broadcasting? -14 LUFS. Not really sure about the RMS readout. Maybe like -7. Best reverb for vocals. I answered this earlier. Verb Suite Classics, Valhalla Room, UAD EMT 250. What's the best way to clip a bass on purpose? Like an 808? Probably standard clip. Or black box. Advice for someone who can't finish tracks. You just have to force yourself. That's it. It's a practice of discipline, and it's easy to forget about an idea by starting a new one, but you have to go back and at least go pick your favorite one that you started and finish it, because a bunch of ideas won't get you too far. What are my thoughts on the Sony C100? I borrowed one for about 2 months while my C800 was getting repaired, and I gotta say I really liked it. It was extremely clear, not hard to mix at all. In fact, it was one of the best $1,000 mics I had ever heard. $1,000 is a weird price point where I find things to be either outstanding or really underwhelming, and that's one of the outstanding ones at the $1,000 price point. Have you ever tried Genelec speakers? Yes, I have. Personally, I don't find them bumping. I don't really find them anything. They're really clean, but I don't feel like they're really made for mixing bumping music. They seem like a kind of speaker you'd mix like a like Foley or sound design or so I don't know. I never really heard Genelec's knock too hard where I'd be like, yeah, I want to mix an EDM record or play some dubstep through these, but maybe I just haven't heard the right Genelecs. I'd rather spend my money on a different brand for the kind of music I make. Yamaha HS8? Absolutely. The HS7s are apparently a little bit less bass hyped, but the HS8s won't do you wrong, especially if you don't want a subwoofer and you just want the big speaker. You'll love it. What bitrate do you record in? 4800. Thoughts on Neumann mics? I've already complained about them enough in this live stream, so I'll let you just rewind it as a rerun. Are Ableton built-in instruments good? I don't really like the synths, but simpler sampler, impulse, and drum rack, yeah. Oh snap, the Vegas vlog premieres in 1 minute. So for you guys who have not heard my description earlier in the video, I went to Las Vegas. I met with some amazing people, saw some really interesting stuff, and I'll put a link to that vlog in the description of this live stream if you're watching a rerun of this in the future. And we'll just answer one more question. Live or Logic for mixing and editing? I'd say it's preference. Logic is more of a traditional looking thing. Ableton is more of a simplified new school approach to it. So I say Ableton. Favorite limiter? FabFilter L2 ? Absolutely. Are USB mics good? I would rather get a USB interface and a normal mic. Alright guys, that's all I got for today. I'll be back answering more questions before the premiere of the next video. Check out the Puppet Goes to Las Vegas vlog, and I'll catch you guys next time in another video. Peace out.